Hey, if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that noti bell because it really helps out. When The Nun was released in 2018, it arrived with the weight of the Conjuring universe behind it, promising a deeper dive into one of the franchise's most terrifying entities, VALAK, the demonic nun first introduced in The Conjuring 2. However, rather than delivering a relentless barrage of jump scares and high-speed horror that so many modern-day horror films rely on, The Nun instead embraced a more methodical, atmospheric approach, favouring slow-building dread over constant, unnecessary jump scares. This deliberate pacing led to divided opinions among audiences and critics alike, with some dismissing it as sluggish or lacking the raw intensity of its predecessors. But while The Nun may not be the fastest-moving horror film, it remains a tense, eerie, and worthwhile experience. One that thrives on its gothic aesthetic, unsettling mood, and moments of sheer terror that makes the wait worthwhile. What The Nun excels at is its ability to craft an oppressive, almost suffocating atmosphere that lingers throughout the film. Set in a decaying Romanian abbey, the movie leans heavily into classic horror imagery, long, dimly lit hallways, whispering shadows, and the omnipresent feeling that something evil is lurking just out of sight. This slow-burning approach to horror isn't just about overwhelming the audience with non-stop action. Instead, it methodically builds tension, allowing unease to seep into every frame. By the time the truly terrifying moments arrive, they feel earned, making them all the more effective. While The Nun may not be the most fast-paced horror film in the Conjuring universe, its ability to sustain tension and create an immersive gothic horror experience makes it an essential watch for fans of slow-burning terror. The film's eerie setting, strong performances, and gradual escalation of horror all contribute to an unsettling experience that, while different in tempo, still delivers where it counts. In the following chapters, I will explore the elements that make The Nun a unique and memorable horror film, proving that sometimes horror isn't about speed, it's about the slow, creeping realization that something truly terrifying is watching, waiting, and closing in. While The Nun may not have been the first film released in the Conjuring universe, it serves as the true chronological starting point for the franchise, setting the stage for the supernatural horrors that will unfold in later films. Taking place all the way back in 1952, The Nun explores the origins of VALAK, the demonic entity that would go on to terrorize the Warrens in The Conjuring 2. The film's story is deeply woven into the mythology of the franchise, establishing key elements that would later become pivotal to the series' overarching narrative. From the eerie, dilapidated Romanian monastery where VALAK first manifests, to the introduction of the demon's connection to Maurice Frenchy Thierrault, The Nun lays the foundation for events that will ripple throughout the entire Conjuring universe. It isn't just a standalone horror film, it is a critical piece of the puzzle that provides context for the supernatural forces that the Warrens will eventually face. One of the most intriguing ways The Nun ties into the broader franchise is through its handling of Frenchy's character. Initially portrayed as a charming and somewhat reluctant ally to Sister Irene and Father Burke, Frenchy's fate is a direct link to The Conjuring's main timeline. In the film's closing moments, it is revealed that Frenchy's real name is Maurice Thierrault, a man whose demonic possession will later be studied by Ed and Lorraine Warren. This revelation is not just a passing reference, it directly connects The Nun to The Conjuring, as viewers may recall a scene in the first film where the Warrens show footage of an exorcism performed on Maurice, highlighting his violent possession and the markings of an inverted cross on his body. This chilling moment reinforces how The Nun doesn't just exist in the same universe as The Conjuring, it actively sets up one of the Warrens' earliest and most horrifying cases. Beyond its direct character connections, The Nun is filled with subtle and overt nods to the greater Conjuring mythology. The omniscious presence of the blood of Christ, a sacred relic that plays a crucial role in defeating VALAK, hints at the religious themes and spiritual battles that would later define the Conjuring universe. The Abbey of St. Carter, with its sinister atmosphere and haunting corridors, echoes the gothic and cursed locations that the Warrens will later investigate. Even Sister Irene herself, played by Thaisa Farmiga, seems to bear an uncanny resemblance to Lorraine Warren, leading some fans to speculate about a deeper connection between the two. Every element of The Nun serves as a stepping stone, subtly foreshadowing the horrors that will unfold in later films, making it a crucial chapter in the expanding Conjuring universe. Few horror villains in recent memory have left as chilling an impression as VALAK, the demonic nun that has become one of the most recognizable faces of the Conjuring universe. Introduced in The Conjuring 2 as a menacing force haunting Lorraine Warren, VALAK's presence was so unsettling that it warranted an entire film dedicated to its origins. The nun delves deeper into the creature's lore, revealing its sinister beginnings within the walls of the cursed Abbey of St. Carter. But what makes VALAK such an exceptional horror villain isn't just its grotesque and gothic appearance or supernatural abilities, it is the sheer, suffocating dread it instills in both its victims and the audience. Unlike many horror antagonists that rely on brute force or relentless attacks, VALAK operates in the shadows, manipulating both fear and faith, exploiting vulnerabilities, and making every moment it appears on screen feel like an inescapable nightmare. Its ability to twist religious iconography into something unholy gives it an added layer of terror, preying on the very symbols meant to provide safety and comfort. VALAK stands out not only as a phenomenal villain in the Conjuring universe, but also as a worthy addition to the pantheon of legendary horror villains. In the same way that horror icons like Freddy Krueger and Pennywise weaponize psychological torment, VALAK embodies the terror of the unknown, an ancient, malevolent force that doesn't just kill its victims, but corrupts them from the inside out. Its grotesque, corpse-like face and piercing, inhuman eyes are burned into the minds of viewers, making its mere presence unnerving even in scenes where it doesn't act at all. What truly separates VALAK from many other horror villains, however, is its silence. Unlike more vocal or aggressive monsters in horror, VALAK often simply stands in the darkness, watching, waiting, and letting fear build before striking at the perfect moment. This mastery of suspense, combined with its unpredictable and otherworldly movements, makes every encounter with the entity feel like a waking nightmare. Beyond its role in The Nun, VALAK's influence extends throughout the Conjuring films, cementing its place as the franchise's most terrifying antagonist. The way it infiltrates dreams, manipulates reality, and plays mind games with its victims makes it far more than just another supernatural entity. It feels like an unstoppable force of evil, a being that thrives on suffering and despair. Unlike many other horror villains that are eventually given weaknesses or clear limitations, VALAK remains an enigma, its true nature never feeling fully understood, adding to its mystique and fear factor. It isn't just an adversary for the Warrens or the unfortunate souls who cross its path, it is fear itself, manifested in one of the most terrifying and unforgettable forms horror has ever seen. While The Nun is often praised for its eerie atmosphere and terrifying antagonist, one of its most underrated strengths lies in its phenomenal performances delivered by its cast. Horror films often struggle to balance strong acting with the genre's need for suspense and tension, but The Nun avoids this pitfall by grounding its supernatural horrors in compelling, believable performances. Leading the charge is Thaisa Farmiga as Sister Irene, whose portrayal of an innocent yet strong-willed young nun in training gives the film an emotional core. Farmiga's ability to convey a mix of curiosity, fear, and unwavering faith makes her an ideal protagonist for a film steeped in religious horror. Unlike many horror heroines who are defined by their reactions to terror, Sister Irene feels proactive, someone who doesn't simply run from the darkness, but actively seeks to understand and combat it. Farmiga's nuanced performance ensures that Irene never feels like a passive victim, but rather a determined figure confronting an unimaginable evil. Opposite Farmiga is Demian Burcher as Father Burke, a Vatican investigator with a haunted past and an unwavering commitment to his faith. Burcher brings a quiet intensity to the role, portraying Burke as a man burdened by his past failures, yet resolute in his destiny and his duty to confront evil. His chemistry with Farmiga is palpable, with their mentor-student dynamic adding emotional weight to their journey, where rather than playing Burke as a stereotypical exorcist figure, Burcher infuses him with layers of vulnerability, making him feel all the more human. The way he subtly conveys guilt, partially in scenes where he recalls past exorcisms that ended in tragedy, adds depth to his character and makes his battle against VALAK feel deeply personal. Birch's performance elevates the nun beyond just a simple haunted monastery story. It turns it into a film about faith, redemption, and the struggle between light and darkness. Jonas Bloquet also deserves recognition for his role as Frenchie, the rugged and skeptical villager who becomes entangled in the supernatural horrors of the Abbey of St. Carter. What could have been a forgettable comic relief character is instead brought to life with charm and sincerity, thanks to Bloquet's performance. Frenchie serves as the audience's grounded perspective, reacting to the unfolding terror with a mix of humor and disbelief, making the film's darker moments even more effective. His transition from reluctant outsider to tragic victim is handled with impressive subtlety, culminating in one of the film's most chilling revelations. His eventual possession by VALAK, Bloquet's culminating in one of the film's most chilling revelations, his eventual possession by VALAK. Bloquet's ability to shift from humorous to heroic to ultimately doomed adds a tragic weight to his character's fate, reinforcing the nun's role as a vital piece of the Conjuring universe. Thanks to these three exceptional performances, The Nun is more than just a horror film with a terrifying villain. It is a film driven by compelling, well-acted characters who make the fear feel all the more real. One of the most overlooked yet crucial aspects of The Nun's horror lies in its soundtrack, a haunting composition that elevates the film's atmosphere from unsettling to downright terrifying. Abel Kozanowski, the film's composer, crafts a score that doesn't just accompany the horror, it intensifies it, creeping under the audience's skin and instilling a lingering sense of unease. Unlike many modern horror films that rely on predictable stringers or cheap jump scares, The Nun's music thrives on eerie, sustained notes, ethereal choral arrangements, and sudden bursts of jarring orchestration that feels like an extension of VALAK's presence itself. The music builds tension so effectively that even in moments of silence, you're left gripping your seat, bracing for something to happen. It's not just about making the scares more impactful, it's about making you feel like the evil within the Abbey of St. Carter is always lurking, watching, and waiting to strike. The most chilling and defining piece of this movie's soundtrack that made me fall in love with the soundtrack is undoubtedly Deliver Us from Evil, an unsettling and deeply atmospheric composition that plays during some of the film's most intense and quite literal darkest moments. This track, with its ominous chanting, swelling orchestral elements, and a growing sense of urgency, perfectly encapsulates the film's central themes of faith, fear, and inevitable doom. Whenever Deliver Us from Evil begins to play in this film, it is a signal that something sinister is about to unfold, acting almost like VALAK's own theme, a dark hymn that heralds the demon's arrival. The use of religious chanting, warped and distorted into something sinister, enhances this film's oppressive atmosphere, turning what should be sacred and holy into a harbinger of despair. It's a perfect musical parallel to VALAK's own ability to corrupt and defile what is meant to be pure, reinforcing this film's thematic weight through sound alone. What makes the soundtrack even more effective is its restraint. Abel doesn't bombard the audience with overbearing score, but instead allows the music to creep in at just the right moments, amplifying the dread rather than overwhelming it. Sometimes the absence of music is just as terrifying as its presence, as the score often fades into an eerie silence before erupting into a cacophony of shrieking strings and ghostly vocals when the horror reaches its peak. This dynamic use of sound keeps viewers on edge, making every scene feel unpredictable. Even in quieter moments, there is always an underlying unease, as though the score itself is holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable horror and darkness and evil to strike. Through its masterful use of composition, The Nun ensures that its terror is not just seen, but deeply felt, using music as a weapon to keep the audience trapped in an unrelenting state of fear. While The Nun may not be the fastest paced horror film, it remains an undeniably tense and worthwhile beginning into the Conjuring universe. What it lacks in constant action, it makes up for with a suffocating atmosphere, a chilling antagonist, and a masterful use of sound and visuals that keeps the audience in a near constant state of unease. As the chronological starting point of the Conjuring franchise, this film lays the foundation for the horrors yet to come, teasing elements that will later play major roles in the Warrens' Holmes's investigations. Its slow burn approach allows the dread to settle deep, making every scare feel more earned and impactful. Rather than relying on an endless barrage of jump scares, The Nun carefully builds its horror, making the viewer feel like they too are trapped within the cursed abbey of St. Carter, surrounded by an evil that is both ancient and unstoppable. Ultimately, The Nun is a horror film that thrives on atmosphere, tension, and a slow-building sense of dread that makes every moment feel unsettling. Its soundtrack, particularly the haunting and unforgettable Deliver Us from Evil, reinforces the film's eerie tone, using sound as a tool to deepen the terror rather than simply accompany it. While it may not have the relentless pacing of other horror films, its methodical approach to fear allows it to leave a lasting impact. It may be slow, but it is never dull. Every shadow, every whisper, and every eerie silence contributes to a larger, more terrifying picture. For fans like myself of the Conjuring universe and horror lovers alike, The Nun is a chilling experience that proves sometimes the scariest horrors are the ones that take their time, slowly wrapping around you like an inescapable nightmare.